Hey, what's going on, everyone? Happy 316 day. I am Blackamura, and I'm joined by the head of communications at Insert Coin, Dan Long. Get
Hello.
ready. Of course, thank you so much for gracing us with
Oh,
your
thank you for
legendary
having me.
presence. Of course. We are going to get into Dan's gaming origin story. We're going to find out what his favorite games are and how he got into the industry and about split screen and more. But we have plenty of time to get into that. Get comfy, grab your snack of choice, and brace yourself for another Power Hour episode 137 of the
Streamcast.
Jeez,
That's amazing.
good. Thank you very much. All right. Hello and welcome to the Streamcast, bringing people together through gaming since 2018, making gaming fun again through a variety of ways. Our podcasts, our live streams, our events, more of that later. But it's not about us right now. It's about this man right here, Dan Long. How
Me?
you doing?
Oh God, an hour about me. Oh no, that's not going to go well. Hello. How are you? You all right?
I'm good, thank you. I appreciate you joining me tonight on the Streamcast. I really do appreciate it. This has been a long time coming. I'm very, very happy that you said yes. So thank you very much.
Oh no, it's an absolute pleasure. Sorry, it's taken a while. I think originally you asked me, and I'd just broken my wrist, and then I was kind of like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Not because I needed my wrist to do anything particularly, but it was like, is this going to be really painful? And I'm going to basically doped up to my eyeballs for an hour. But it was okay in the end, and I'm now able to use my wrist. So hooray!
Amazing. Very glad that you are back and podcast fit once again. Yeah. Let the people know, if they don't know who you are, what you do in terms of the industry.
Okay, so I am Dan, and I am the head of comms at Insert Coin Clothing, and Insert Coin is a company set up in 2010 that so for 16 years now we've been creating wearable, amazing video game apparel and merchandise, homeware and stuff like that, basically allowing people to represent their favorite games in the real world in a cool way. It's not just logo slapping, it's not like boring stuff that you sort of come to expect like from these sorts of things. It's sort of more cosplay items. It's it's kind of just things that sort of other gamers will recognize instantly, but sort of are subtle enough that non-gamers perhaps don't recognize them straight away, but things that always start a conversation, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. I can definitely attest to that, because one of the main reasons I was like, I really just want to talk to Dan is because I have been such a massive fan of Insert Coin for many years. It's because of what you said there. Like, you make cool gaming related accessories. I've been a gamer my entire life, as long as I can remember. And you're right. Sometimes when you see merch, it's very obvious that the care isn't there when the manufacturing process happens. Like you said, it's just a logo slapped on. It's like cheap print or something. Comes off after one wash. But I've not experienced that with Insert Coin, and I have not. for the record,
that's it.
For the record, I'm not being paid by them.
That's it. It's done.
For the record. Insert Coin have my favorite ever hoodies.
Oh really?
Not only do they look so cool, the comfort, the feel is amazing. I am sure I would have got pneumonia or something if not for the Insert Coin hoodies that I've got. My collection is top tier.
Oh, amazing! Oh, that's fantastic. It's really nice to hear that when people really appreciate it. And you see sort of people. You see people at shows really enjoying what they've got and posting up photos and stuff like that. And it's kind of like I guess that's kind of what we sort of wanted to strive to do with Insert Coin more than, it wasn't just like stick a logo on, make something, and that's it. Like bang it out on just a run of the mill T-shirt or anything like that. It was about, it's gaming's all about community, whether it's like an actual online gaming community or it's just people talking about those games online, or in real life. That's kind of what the heart of gaming was for us, and it is that bit of people being able to represent the games they love, enjoy, and being a shorthand to sort of talk to people about other people about the games that they love, and knowing that barrier is all automatically removed. Oh, that person's wearing that T-shirt from that game, so they obviously like that game, so I can talk to them about it. So it's almost like creating like these safe spaces for people to talk about stuff. So it's all about community. That's for us. That's what gaming's all about.
Yeah, 100%. You hit the nail on the head. I can only compare it to music, like rock bands. You would wear a certain band's shirt, and it's like, oh, the icebreaker's already there.
It was one of the first really nice. Like there were loads of obviously really nice sort of beats that we had sort of in the journey of like creating Insert Coin from it was sort of just on like a dining room table of like two directors and I sort of like making creating this sort of brand and creating this sort of idea and sort of taking it further sort of thing. But once it sort of got up and running, it was getting messages back of people saying like, oh, I saw someone wearing your Shenmue jacket today, and I sort of like gave them the thumbs up and they gave me the thumbs up back, or sort of vice versa, that someone sort of like, reached out and gave me a handshake because, I was wearing an Assassin's Creed hoodie or whatever. And, it's like that kind of like connection that people were making sort of just by wearing our stuff. And it was just really nice to see. Yeah.
I've experienced that firsthand. I think the Streets of Rage hoodie has been very popular.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. It's really good.
And it's one of those things where it'd be really easy to sort of like write that off and go, oh, well, it's just a logo kind of thing. But it does have obviously the logos like front and center, but it's like the little details of like the colorways of the different characters on the sleeves and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's just like little bits and pieces that it's like giving that extra bit of care and that little extra bit of attention to detail and things like that. And so just thinking, what would we like to see? What would we, what does that game sing? Like, how does that make your heart sing? And so it's like adding those bits in wherever you can.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, again, that just is part of the entire presentation of making gaming accessories cool and giving them authenticity.
Yeah.
And that speaks to the gamers, because when it comes to gamers, I can only compare it to music fans or pro wrestling fans, of how passionate they are about their fandom. So when they also see people who are making the products care as much as them who enjoy it, I think it's just a match made in heaven.
Oh no, I think you're right, and it is that you used a really important word there as well, which is authenticity, because I think it's really it's weird how you go into industries and you sort of kind of don't know how they necessarily work when you first go into them, because my background's like really weird and convoluted, and I can go into that at some point if you really want to go to
you got time,
yeah. But going into like the sort of the licensing side of things, and you'd see, this isn't sort of to take anything away from other brands or other companies or anything like that, but you see so many license companies are there just to turn a profit on a brand. They're not there for fan service, and they're not there because they love that brand. They're there because that brand's hot and they think that will be a good product for them, which is, fair enough. That's absolutely how, late stage capitalism works. So, that's their remit kind of thing. But for us, it's kind of more about giving that. It would be meaningless just to churn out something that is just being churned out. It's you want to do something that people are going to go, actually, this is like, this speaks to me. I'm wearing my passion on my sleeve. I'm showing the world that this is what I love to play and what I love to do and what I love to talk about. And it's more than just, it's more lifestyle rather than just brand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And I think especially over the last, I don't know, 5-ish years, it's definitely been something that I've noticed enter the mainstream on a level unprecedented. Just gaming and people wanting to showcase their love for games, just through their clothes, through the bags, through the other accessories. I feel like people are more proud than ever to showcase that they love a particular game or a particular anime or something that, at one point was considered nerdy or stigmatized. I think yeah, we are definitely in a maybe a renaissance. We're in a different era where like a lot of people who grew up on so many amazing classic games, franchises, and consoles are now of the age to have buying power and actually cool power. So the once nerdy and confusing, somewhat evil pastime is now cool and accepted into mainstream. So yeah, I think Insert Coin have a massive part to play in that. And
hope so. I hope so. Otherwise, I'm out of a job. But no, it's nice to be part of that ecosystem. I think that's the thing, and it's that thing of some people I think see themselves perhaps as the end part of it, whereas we see ourselves as something in between. So we're kind of like somewhere between the industry and the community and the sort of the press side of things, so that we sort of move between those three, so that we always sort of like we can relate to all of them, if that makes sense. And so we're not just like cutting one off, or we're not just thinking, well, that ignoring that part, we'll just do this bit. It's such a complicated ecosystem and sort of well balanced. You've kind of got to be you're either part of it and you like then you'll thrive, or you'll kind of like try and be the hunter going into this sort of ecosystem and trying to get what you want from it. And it's like, well, that you're not gonna get anything out of that, because it's not about that. It's about being part of it with other people. It's like a shared experience.
100%. And gamers are so intelligent, in my opinion. They are like, apart from
definitely they are.
So like, I think they're very adept at clocking someone who is looking for a quick buck straight away.
Yes, absolutely.
Sometimes you see it with games or with accessory companies who they try to make a quick buck and they just don't. It doesn't end up well, because it's so obvious that they're just here to make money and they don't really care about the fandom or the players.
Yep, absolutely. Gamers can sniff it out straight away, and I think that's the thing that's hopefully, now that we've been in the industry for coming up 16 years, we kind of, our credentials are probably okay now, but we never take it for granted that's just, it's never just, oh, well, we can coast off that kind of thing, or at any point. It's always like, well, how can we prove ourselves next? How can we sort of better that? How can we, be sort of leading that charge of like making gaming mainstream and safe to sort of like represent in the real world, but at the same time not cut off the actual core community, sort of elevate everyone together rather than just sort of bits and pieces.
Yeah, it's a real juggling act.
Yeah,
because you're trying to serve two different types of people with two different spending habits at once.
Yeah.
But I think you've done very well.
Oh,
so
thank you. We try our best.
And it's very it's fitting that you mentioned it's 16 years of Insert Coin. It's also 16 years of God of War 3, one of my favorite ever games today. So we wrap that all up. This is a super special gaming day. And now I want to get into your origin story, Dan, because every gamer has an origin story. Like comic book superheroes or supervillains.
Probably more the latter, really. I think it's the thing. I see. The problem is that I am very old, so mine starts a long time ago, and genuinely,
that's fine.
I cannot remember exactly what the first console I had, but I remember my dad brought it back, and I think it was like a ColecoVision type rip-off type thing, and it had as far as I can, I think we had a couple. The first one I think had like 4 versions of Pong on it. So it had like a 2-player, a 4-player, and like squash, which is basically you and a wall, which is that's the most boring game ever. And then we had another one which was I can't remember what one it was, but it was like a wood panelled kind of thing with like the dials rather than a proper controller. And then the next step I had was I had a Commodore VIC-20, which was ancient even when I had it. So I don't know when they came out, but it was old then and creaky. And I had that with a joystick that was so, like, you know how ergonomic joysticks are now, and they're like so like created like the flight stick ones, because people don't even use joysticks other than flight sticks now. But it was so unergonomic. It was literally just like a stick of basically like very thinly covered metal, like with plastic, and it was like really square. And I remember I was about 5 or 6, I think, and my hand just got ripped to pieces. Like one day of playing this, I had a game called Cave Hunter, which was, I don't think I ever got out of like the 2nd or 3rd cave of this game, because it was just, you do that and you die, and then you have to rewind the tape and start again. But I had that, and then I had a Spectrum 48K. I think I had a 128, but I didn't really use it a lot. And then I'm trying to think what I had after that. I sort of tuned out. I think I had those quite late in their sort of cycle, and so it wasn't as long as it could have been. But then I progressed to my first actual proper console, which was a Mega Drive when I was 11, I think, 10 or 11. And I had Sonic on that, and that was me done. I was like, right, well, that's me. I'm just gonna immerse myself in this for the rest of my life. And yeah, it was Mega Drive, and then the rest, as they say, is history. But yeah, the Mega Drive was like my first real love of gaming, where it kind of really, every time previous to that, I really wanted to get into it, but it never quite clicked. It was kind of like, I loved it. I loved playing them, but I was terrible at them, and the games were so unstable because they were on tape, and they were just ridiculously bad, horrible noises, horrible visuals. Everything about gaming in that era was horrible. If anyone tells you anything otherwise, they're lying. It was awful. The worst bit was, I've spoken to someone about this before. I think it might have been Ian Higton, actually, in a podcast episode, where it was about how games used to have the artwork on the back, and you'd get it on like loads of different systems, and it would be, you'd buy it on the Spectrum, which is like the lowest on the lowest rung of all the systems, and then on the back they'd show it like on the Amiga or the Atari, and it would be, for the time, amazing graphics, and it'd be tiny little writing and saying that what platform it was on, and then you'd get it home and play it, and it was like, this is awful. This has 4 colours and just sounds like someone banging a can in a bin, and it's not good. But yeah, that's kind of my story. Then I sort of like went through various kind of stages of not playing games when I was studying for exams and stuff like that, and sort of in and out of games, and then I sort of got back into it properly, I guess, PlayStation 2. I had the Mega Drive for ages and just kept it for ages and sort of rinsed it. And I got a really nice collection. Then really annoyingly got rid of it. I wish I'd kept it because it was a really good collection of games. Then went to PlayStation 2 sort of a few years later, and then every generation since, I think, every console since. So became a real nerd at that point.
A real gamer,
yeah,
one might say. Yeah, that's so. Obviously, there are a couple of moments of resonance there. I also stopped playing games when I went to uni, so I can totally empathize and sympathize with, wanting to better yourself and not wanting any distractions, like some of my uni friends did, playing FIFA till 4 a.m. And then...
I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done both. I just could not have done both.
Yeah, I know me. I would have failed uni. So yeah, I didn't have a PS4 until 2018, I think.
Oh right,
so,
yeah.
Pretty much missed the whole generation.
I think everyone has a little sort of like a respite period, right? You have a little period where you're sort of like, oh, right, well, I'm just going to put like a fallow period of gaming, and you kind of sort of know roughly what's going on, but you just like coast through it a bit, let it wash over you and past you, and then you get into the next one, and you hit it even harder.
Yeah. Yeah, to be fair, I think that's maybe that's burnout. Maybe that's just gamers right now aren't scratching that itch. So let me take a break. Let me do something else. Let me go outside. But I think taking that break often just prepares you for I guess a deeper respect and love for the pastime.
Yeah. I think it does, and I think it's I think it's true of anything. If you kind of sort of walk away from it a bit of your own kind of volition, and then you're kind of like you can come back whenever, and you come back when you're ready, and you come back to because you've got passion for it again. That's the thing, and there's no point in just doing. There's people that I know who sort of robotically buy every game and sort of like then sort of play it or whatever, and then it's like. They don't sort of like, they're like, oh, I got that and it wasn't very good. And it's like, well, you've got, so many games that are coming out. Just like, I'm always like really like focused on, I try and focus on one game at a time. Because I think if I try and focus on too many games, then it's just like, my brain can't cope with it. And I start, because I'm playing Pyrokid at the moment, and like, I'm kind of having sort of mild panic attacks where every time when I'm thinking about like, this is like, what have I got to do? And if I was doing that, I was saying to my wife earlier, it's like, I'm going to have to, because there were a couple of other games I was planning on getting, and I was like, I'm going to have to not get those games because I don't know how I'll cope with playing that as well. I'll just be like, well, I'll buy it, and then it'll just be like sat there. So I'm just going to have to just concentrate on this now. That's it. That's my life now for the next few months. So
that's quite wise. I used to have a bad habit of doing that. Trying to play multiple games at the same time. Sometimes it would help because I'd be stuck on a certain game, and I'd be like, okay, let's just stop. Let's just
have a nice reboot.
Yeah. But I think now what happens is I just play the second game thinking it's the first game, so I'm pressing all the wrong buttons.
You can't enjoy either of them.
Yeah,
both of them. Oh,
I'm trying to parry, I'm trying to sidestep. I'm like, no, this is coffee talk. Really quickly, we do have some brief comments from people passing through. I appreciate you, Harper, who really wants me to say 6'7". 6'7". 6'7". Are you happy now? Are you happy? Layla, welcome in. Romeo, welcome. Romeo with some manners. How are you?
That's very nice to ask, isn't it?
How are you, Romeo?
There's just very quickly going back to the 6'7" thing, is that my kids are like forever like amused by the fact that like when you do like Just Eat or whatever and you get a code. Our code at the moment is 6'7", and it's I have to say every time every time we get anything delivered, I have to. Then they say, "What are the numbers?" I have to say 6'7", and so it's like, and all I can do is hear them laughing in the other room. It's like, oh no, I'm not that cool. I'm not cool enough to get away with it. I'm too old to do this. These poor people.
My favorite thing is like, no one can really explain the origin of the meme.
No, don't even. You just have to accept it. Sometimes these things just happen, right? They're just now. That's it. It's like ingrained in culture. That's it.
Just gotta let it become uncool naturally. And
It'll burn out. It'll burn out eventually.
Yeah. So you talked about your entire literary. I wanted to use a really cool word and I went blank. You had a really cool library of consoles, not just games, console that led you to Mega Drive and the GOAT Sonic, and then you skipped to PS2. But across all your consoles, what would you say your fave 5 games are?
That's a really difficult question, and it's one of those ones where those sorts of things always sort of change over time, I guess, and like over like how you feel at any sort of one given point. there's a few that I think could always be in there, which I think Shadow of the Colossus would be one of them. Just because I think it's an amazing story. I think it's a really good narrative game that has very little in the way of narration, and it's kind of all sort of just, it's the environmental storytelling of what's there and what's left, and the design by subtraction of it all, and the way that it's kind of it's just so bleak and miserable all the time. But it's just something about it. It's just something about it that I sort of fell in love with that completely. And it's one that I always sort of like. Sometimes like when you're sort of daydreaming and your brain idles into things, and I'll be like, oh yeah, like those bosses, they were amazing, and like that I'll think, oh, how did I beat that boss? And then I'll have to look it up and go, I couldn't remember how to do this boss. It's like, oh right, yeah, okay, yeah, no, that's it. But yeah, so Shadow of the Colossus would definitely be one. Probably a previous game to that. I loved Sonic, and I loved Sonic 2 particularly. But the one that in that sort of era that I really loved was Gunstar Heroes. That was, I don't know if you know Gunstar Heroes, but that's like just so high energy, bonkers kind of. There was all like weapon combination stuff in it. I don't know if you ever played it, but it's just like if not, definitely play it. It's amazing. You can play it single or two player. It's got like a board. There's a whole level that's like a board game at the end, which is just nuts. And it's like a run and gun. It's like Contra basically, but it was made by Treasure, and it's just amazing. And weirdly, where I found out about it was on a TV show, and I can't remember what TV show it was. It was one of the very few gaming TV shows that there were in the early 90s, I guess it was, and. When they showed footage of it, and it's like, oh my god, this is like the game that I've always wanted, kind of thing, because it's like mad kind of future, like alt future, slightly dystopian kind of run and gunner, but sort of like really cute animations. Like really, it had a really weird sort of sense of humor to it. Absolutely wild weapons and stuff like that. And they showed loads of it, like almost like a trailer kind of thing of it. And it was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then they reviewed it, and it was like 2 out of 10. And it's like, oh man, this surely it can't be that bad. And I bought it, even despite the fact that it had this really bad review. It's the only review that I could find. Even in magazines, it didn't seem to be reviewed. And I bought it and just fell in love with it. And I absolutely rinsed it. I played it on my own. There was a summer where me and a friend, we just played like Mega Drive and SNES games. That's all summer long, and we played that game probably, I don't know, 10 times over the thing, like the holiday, like taking turns, like being different characters. And there's a level where there's a ship with a satellite sort of around it, and we sort of took it in turns playing which one we'd be. But yeah, that's an amazing game. It's just I love it. Every so often I'll go back and play it. What else? Portal 2. I love Portal 2. It's the only game I've ever played and then immediately played again. Like literally the credits rolled and I just pressed start and then just played it again. Just because it's just really clever and it's really good fun. And it's just beautifully weighted, I think, how it works. And the puzzles aren't too frustrating. They're just frustrating enough, which is the right sort of balance, I think. And then, so that's 3, right?
Yeah.
Probably, it's really difficult because I probably would have said Astrobot. Astrobot is a one of those games that some people I don't think, and if you haven't played it, or if you're not really into PlayStation, perhaps you don't get, you might think it's just like an advert kind of thing. But I think it's so much more than that as a thing. And I absolutely adore it. And I love playing like the time trials on that. And sort of playing like against my daughter and stuff like that. It's just really, or daughters. And it's really, it's just a wonderful game. I think it's just full of joy. It's between this is the most difficult one. I think is this fourth one, because the fifth one is the one I want to talk about the most, which is why I've left that till last. But it's either be that, and I think it probably would be that. The other one that sort of just would be the sixth one is Motorstorm, which I loved Motorstorm. I don't know if you ever played that, but it's just like to my shame, it had gone from my brain. I'd completely forgotten it. And then there's a game coming out where someone basically, I can't remember. Oh, it's the new Star Wars pod racer that's coming out. I think is that EA? I can't remember who it is who's making it. But basically, someone was saying this is just Motorstorm with Star Wars. And it's like, yes, I'm there. If that's all it is, I don't care. That's what I want, because Motorstorm was great, and it. I'm terrible at driving games. I don't drive in real life. I'm awful at driving games generally, but Motorstorm rewards being like ridiculous when driving, and so that's just all. That's like my MO is like if we like playing any game, I'm always the one who sort of runs in ahead of time and sort of does the ridiculous things. But Motorstorm would be like the sixth place one. Astrobot would definitely take that space, I think. But the number one game, and it's there. Even this one has got like another thing attached to it, because I love Pyrokid, and I feel that could be a top 5 in the future. It's like getting there, definitely. But the number one game and the number one slot has to go to Animal Crossing New Horizon, and the reason for that is it's amazing. B, it's my favourite. No, it's just the best game ever made. I think it was so beautifully timed. Like, if that's not quite the right word, but it's so wonderfully timed in terms of everything that was going on in the world at the time when it came out, that everyone just played it, and it was just like everyone was on that at the same time, and everyone was sort of it felt like you get event telly. It was like an event game, and it was the first time, I think, for a long time that kind of happened, where everyone was playing it. And Pyrokid is a bit like that again, where I'm on there and I'm playing it, and it's just like you see everyone on my friends list, just names popping up all the time coming online. But Animal Crossing is like, it got us through, or got me through, and my family through horrible times. It forged amazing friendships with like wonderful people, and I absolutely adore it. I've played it every day since it came out, and I've racked up 1,800 hours plus on it now. So it's like there's very few games that I would give that amount of my life to, but that is one of them. And it's just, I just think it's the only thing I'm really thankful for at the moment is that I just finished my Slumber Island, the new edition part of it. I literally finished it about 2 days before Pyrokid came out, and that was like, if I'd been doing the two again, going back to that thing, I would not be able to hold those two in my head at the same time. And I still play Animal Crossing every day, but I'm sort of, at the moment, it's kind of like it is getting nudged out. But then I've been playing it. I think I've got my money's worth after playing it every day for 6 years. Is kind of probably got my money's worth out of it now.
100%. Yeah, that's almost 2,000 hours you put into that. Yeah, that's worthwhile. Money well spent.
My first, I bought a Switch Lite to play that, and it was lucky, I suppose, because they started to sell out, didn't they, at the start of COVID and stuff like that. So I was lucky to get hold of one. But I'm now on I'm on the Switch 2 now, but I was trying to limp the Lite through until the Switch 2 came out, because it was just like busted, because I was just like, I've been playing it non-stop for like 2,000 hours, coming up 2,000 hours, and it was just like, this is dead. This handheld is dead. It's not gonna survive much longer. And so luckily I was able to transfer it over. But yeah, I think that's my all-timer, and it is. If you ask me, I probably wouldn't necessarily, until I'd seen how many hours I'd put into it. Like a few years back, it was like, probably Shadow Colossus is my favourite game or whatever. But the numbers the numbers tell me that is definitely my favorite game, because I've just spent so many hours doing it. So yeah,
Numbers
bet you
don't
wish you
lie.
never asked that now.
No, I'm so happy that I asked that, because I never know what my guests are going to say. You never know who's. I've had so many different suggestions. I've had Streets of Rage, I've had I've had Resident Evil, I had all the Dark Souls games. Animal Crossing is a new one.
Is it really?
Yeah, no one has said Animal Crossing, but it's such a valid answer. They're all valid because video games is such a subjective entertainment, and as long as you're enjoying it and you're not being toxic, it's a right answer.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's important that, especially as gamers, we don't brush aside what happened in the early 20s, because it did take a lot of lives, and it did permanently shape a lot of lives, some for the better, many for the worse. And games like Animal Crossing and maybe Among Us really rose above to bring people together. And thank goodness for the internet, because I think it is the closest thing a lot of people alive right now are going to experience to what people had to experience during really bad wars, where they had to be locked down in bunkers and there was no freedom. Obviously this is nowhere near as intense as that, but just being locked inside four walls, day after day, not being allowed to go outside, not being able to meet your friends, meet your family. Weddings were like capped, funerals were capped. The only thing that people could use to bridge that gap was Animal Crossing, where people had their graduations and had their funerals and had their birthday parties and their bachelors. So I think it is a really nice way to find a positive through such a negative time in life.
Yep, absolutely. I think it's really easy to brush aside what got everyone, got so many people through that, because there's so many, I know people who did they had big sort of YouTube channels and stuff like that, and their streams and stuff like that, they got so many people through those times, because there were people, as you say, they're just on their own, and they could be you could feel like you were part of something bigger, and you could feel like that humanity coming through, whether it was like podcasts or if it was through games or whatever. And games like Animal Crossing and Pyrokid and stuff like that, obviously that's a later edition kind of thing, but they're driven by being good. They're driven by being not being a jerk. They're driven by sharing stuff and going, oh look, I've got that. The amount of times even now, if I'm sort of working on something stupid on my island or whatever, and I'm like, oh, has someone got this? And they'll be like, oh, I think I have actually. And then suddenly it'll just appear on my in my mailbox. And it's like, oh, brilliant. And it's like they're just being nice. There's nothing in it for them. They're just sort of doing something out of the goodness of their heart. It's sort of like the closest thing you can get to sort of altruism. You're kind of just doing something to help someone else. And so many games aren't like that, and they aren't they're not collaborative. It's just that they're just not there's no need for winners and losers in this thing. It's just like that people are just enjoying it for the love of the game. They're enjoying playing a game. They're getting that connection out of it. That is enough. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that really easily, because it's a competitive world we live in, and it is so important just to enjoy it, enjoy the time you have, and enjoy what you can.
100%. I think there is absolutely 100%, a space for that kind of game, the competitive, where there is a winner and a loser, and not necessarily toxic, but the competitive nature. There's absolutely a space for that.
Sport.
Exactly. But just as valid is a space for games where competition doesn't really come into it at all. It's all about cooperation, or it's a simulation. Sims is massively successful in that regard. both things can be right. There's a space
Yeah.
for all types of games, and I think
Absolutely.
that's the beauty of video games right now. Yeah, Coffee Talk is an example. Like, that wouldn't be my usual wheelhouse, but I love that game, and I can't
Yeah.
wait for Tokyo to come out because it's so different to anything that I've been invested in. But whether it's the colors or the stories or the fact that I'm massive coffee connoisseur, I get a real kick out of playing through that game. So
Yeah.
you're totally right. You're totally right. Like, there's nothing wrong in a game that's not competitive at all. It's
Yeah.
still just as valid and just as important a game.
I think there's a lot you can. I think there's a competitive element that comes out of what you're doing yourself, if that makes sense. Of like you can, you're like you want to get a building built in a certain time, or you want to, I've got that one last fossil to get or whatever, and so you become competitive with yourself rather than, and it's kind of like, I think I do think it sounds really like preachy, but I think there's an element of like sort of mindfulness, but like how to learn how to be in real life of like, this is, it teaches you lessons of like resilience and not giving up at the first go, but it's not just like blasting someone through a wall in a warehouse or whatever, or beating them in a race or scoring more goals. It's that thing of like, well, I can't do that today, but tomorrow hopefully that will be done, and then I can do the next thing. And then there's kind of like, it's a nice sort of life lesson sort of, but they're kind of dressed up in cute stuff, which is that's a good way of taking that pill, right? It's like sugarcoat it.
Again, it's totally valid.
Yeah.
So when we talk about those games, and the games that you played growing up, what was the light bulb moment of you realizing that, hey, I can work in games, I can be a part of the industry?
I'm not sure. I don't know if there was one that was, because I mean, my part of the industry, I guess, is sort of like it's been part of it by sort of almost by association. It is part of it, but it's kind of I'd never feel comfortable saying that I was anywhere near sort of like to someone who's like makes the games themselves, or who's like a key central part of it. I think when I saw the level of creativity that was in games, that's the bit that kind of made me sort of go, like the humor in games, like Sonic, like you were saying, like Sonic's like the GOAT kind of thing, and it's just like the idle animation and stuff like that you could put that detail in, and it wasn't just like, there's love getting poured into it. It's not just functional A to B. It's kind of like there's more than that. And when you go into like things like the adverts that PlayStation ran in the 90s and stuff like that, where it was, this is not talking about buy this game, it's great. It's like, hey, look, this is weird lifestyle stuff that we want to do, and it kind of, that spoke to me, I think, in a lot of ways, of like how there's a journey that we're all going on, rather than it being like A to B. It's kind of like there's sort of a enjoying the journey, getting there kind of thing. If that makes sense. Yeah. That probably doesn't make sense. I'm probably just rambling at this point. But it's that part of, I think there was an element of, because my most recent background is sort of marketing and stuff like agency work and stuff like that, and I think that part came from an appreciation of these companies are kind of creating these worlds, like, and these communities in a way that's not just like buy our product. It's like be part of something bigger, and I think that's a nice way of creating a brand, rather than just going buy our product, you can play this new game on it. It's like you can you can join millions of other people doing this same thing. That's a nicer sort of way of framing it.
Yeah, 100%. And that links back to what we were talking about earlier, of how when a brand puts as much into the product as the people who enjoy the product. You get this really nice bond between, I guess, consumer and producer. And
yeah.
yeah,
Like the creator kind of thing. It's like
creator.
It's not just I think my previous background, like very way back, is engineering, and like the thing that I always sort of like, you have like these things where you take away stuff for in life. I think where you sort of like things just stick with you. And one thing that stuck with me was about feedback loops and how you kind of need them, because otherwise you never know what's sort of, you know, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. And I think that's such an important part of this industry, is that rather than just churning, like whether it's games or like merch or whatever it is, rather than just churning stuff out and just going like la la la, I can't hear you, I'm just making stuff you just buy out, you know, you consume at the end. It's like being part within that thing. You're kind of constantly getting that feedback of like, and we read it all the time. You know, pretty much everything that's like written on insert coin socials or like posted or whatever is me, and so I get to see that sort of firsthand all the time. And so, because we're a tiny company, and so I'll see that stuff, and it's like such an invaluable feedback loop of like, well, we're being told that people want to buy this thing, or people want to, you know, see us at this event, or, you know, they want us to see how we could work with this company about something for this game, or they've got an idea about how we could add something to this that will make it sort of even better again. And it's just, it's so important to be part of that, rather than just kind of like, all right, well, that's job done, I've launched that now, see you later kind of thing.
Yeah. It's yeah, like we've been saying, it just shows that there's a real care about the product and care about the consumer. So yeah, I do appreciate that, and I think it's a healthy way to not just do business, but to live life. Always be, you know, always be coachable. I've heard people say, just again, obviously know your worth, don't let people disrespect you, but be open and be willing to receive feedback, whether it's constructive or positive. It can only go to serve you and improve you.
Absolutely. It's there's a thing, and I say it with alarming regularity and sort of growing regularity, to be honest, is that, and this is just, again, it's not just this isn't just a work thing, or this is just generally for life, is that there's no one knows everything about everything. And so you kind of, as soon as someone starts saying that they know everything, my red flags go off, and it's like, oh, no, you don't know. It's like there's a thing about that I saw an Instagram post of, like, you know, it was a culture thing, and it was like, as soon as someone says that they understood Twin Peaks, that then you can check out that they don't know what they're talking about. And it's that thing of like, as soon as like someone says that they know something, it's like, nope, you definitely don't. There's always something else. If you can never definitively say it, because I know like stuff that I see in all aspects of my life, and I look at it like, you know, I'm coming up 47 now, right? So I had a long time to look at these things, and it's like, you look at it and go, this is the pattern. This is like my whole life, is like trying to identify these patterns and trying to make them work, and trying to, you know, make things fit into these patterns. And you look at them and go, well, there isn't a pattern there. You know, there isn't anything. And then someone will come in and go, oh, there is definitely a pattern there. It's like, there isn't. And they'll try something, and it's like, there's not a pattern there. But it is. It's just that thing. I think you've got to be confident in not knowing stuff. And if you're confident in not knowing stuff, the rest of it comes naturally. Because if you do know something, you'll be confident about it because you know it. So yeah, you're always going to be confident in it.
Yeah, that is totally fair. Yeah. So tell me about your podcast, because I love getting to interview podcasters themselves, because it's interesting. You can always figure out that they know what they're doing. They know, like, you know,
I can guarantee you. There's one thing I can tell you about me: I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to podcasts. I'm certainly not as professional as you. Definitely not. So we started to do we did live streams for a while during lockdown, and we kind of wound those up after a while, after a couple of years, about 18 months or so, and we kind of wanted to do something. Well, I wanted to do something that was like still creative and sort of talk to people within the industry, and we kind of, I sort of mentioned this before, is that we have like a really good relationships with people in the industry that have built up over 16 years. There's people that we've worked with for 16 years that all of a sudden they're like absolutely massive, and so we kind of have like, we're not just this company that isn't connected and just is churning stuff out. We're like part of the industry. We're like supporting people on their journey as well, and some of them have gone to like through the stratosphere into like huge sort of arenas, and I just kind of wanted to do something where we spoke to a variety of people, like creators and voice actors and everyone in between, about what they love about games, and so Split Screen was born, and so it's just it's our little podcast where we talk to the great and the good of video games, people who love playing games as much as we all do, and we've had loads of lovely guests, got more lovely guests on the way. We've done I'm trying to work out how many it is now. We've done 2 seasons of 7 episodes. We've had 2 live specials as well, recorded at MCM, and I've recorded the 3rd season that's being worked on at the moment, edited at the moment, and so that will be coming out in the coming weeks and months. I've started recording some of season 4. We've got 2 more MCMs as well lined up, who I don't know who the guests are yet. So that's the exciting thing. I genuinely don't know the guests yet. I've got a rough idea of the ones for May, but it's really cool, and there'll be more on that hopefully on socials soon. But no, I kind of love it. I just like talking to people, and it's I do let them speak more on my podcast generally. I do apologise for that, because I know I've been jabbering on for loads, but no, it's I just love chatting to people about games, and not just games, just like their lives and how they got into bits and pieces. So that people that we talk to about who are like voice actors or actors generally, and how their their journey through like is a completely different way into gaming sometimes, so that they weren't gamers at all, but they kind of got in through sort of the drama side of things, into like from theatre into games, and creating voices for characters, and then sort of got into the games through that. And it's just a lovely way of, it's not, I think there's very few people who just have one thing that's just their one isolated interest. It's very much a patchwork quilt of like, things that create all of us. And so, like for me, it's like I love film, and I love music, and I love theatre, and I love games, so it's like how all these things interlace and overlap, and how they sort of is how all of these different people have very similar but completely different quilts themselves. And it's just finding out, that's weird, that person had exactly the same favorite game as me, or that person how did they start out in acting, how did they get to become like the voice of Geralt in The Witcher, or it's like there's always something you can learn from other people, I think, and it's just really lovely to be able to do that as part of this community that we're all in.
Yeah, I think it's been very educational listening to Split Screen episodes, and you've had some great guests, of course, like Marcus, and you've had Rosie Caddick on as well. You had some really cool and unique guests. I think I was most intrigued to find out how into Elden Ring you are.
Oh god! Particularly, I didn't even mention Elden Ring, did I? In my favourite games, because I'll very briefly. I will keep it brief, I promise.
You don't have
to. I said this before we started recording. I think is that I'm pretty bad at games, and if I didn't, this is newsflash. This is a newsflash. Is I'm pretty bad at games generally, and I love them, but I'm not massively skilled. I just love playing them. And the thing with Souls games is I've tried so hard to get into them over time, and so I tried pretty much every Dark Souls and Bloodborne and Sekiro, and I've never been able to get to it. I tried Elden Ring, and I really struggled for I don't know, the first few days I was just like, I'm going to have to give up. I genuinely don't know what I'm doing. I'm just rubbish. I'm so out of my depth on this. And then I spoke to this, obviously that was during the lockdowns, wasn't it? It was was it 2021 that came out? It was around that, wasn't it? I think.
22, I think. But yeah,
22. Yeah. So it was still in that kind of weird sort of hinterland of the world. I spoke to, there were 3 people that I spoke to about it, and it was Tam Hussein, Luke Westaway, and George Morgan, who's a really good friend of mine who I've known for years. And they really coached me through it, and they got me through the first bit, and it's kind of almost like a very sort of zen state of they were all 3 of them independently basically said, just to kind of wipe your mind of what you know, just go into it doing this little bit, and then you'll go. And then from someone who's never really got into Souls games, never really got very far in them, despite loving the aesthetic, despite loving everything about them, but just not good enough to get anywhere. Elden Ring, I platinumed and 100%ed. And I was like, okay, so that's weird. How did I manage to do that? And then I tried to do the DLC when the DLC came out, and I was like, and it was just I just lost it by that point. I'd completely gone from my brain. So I was like, I couldn't get back into it again. But for that glorious period, I managed to smash the hell out of Elden Ring and absolutely rinsed it. I was some ridiculous level of I don't even know what sort of build I was. It was just bizarre build of magic and strength. But it was just, I managed to beat it, and I don't know how I managed to beat it. It was those 3 people really helped me coach through it and guide me through those early bits to start off with. But yeah, I don't know. Do you know what? I had genuinely completely forgotten about Elden Ring. I was like, what? How did I forget that? Because that really consumed a large part of that year, whatever that year that was. If it was 2022, that was just most of that year was gone to Elden Ring. But no, it was particularly when I started doing those podcasts, I was kind of fresh out of it, and it was sort of just starting to get into the DLC. I think that had been announced, or it was sort of on its way. So I was still riding. I was high as a kite on my Elden Ring stuff at the moment. At that moment, so. But no, it was a good one. Have you played Elden Ring? Are you into Elden Ring?
Yeah, I played a bit of it. I haven't finished it.
It's brutal, and I don't know. I genuinely don't know how I finished it. It was pure. I sort of got into a fugue state, I think, at some point, where I was just I was just completely dialed in on right, well, this is what I've got to do. And I'd get up and I'd play it, and then I'd go to work or whatever, and then I'd come back and I'd sort of do all the chores and stuff like that, and then I'd sit and play for another couple of hours. And I'd really it was ruthless, like a machine by that point. I was just really hammering it through, and I was using by the people who I sort of mentioned previously. They'd all recommended various guides, but there was one guide that was particularly good, and it was just I was just following that, and it was just yep, do this, and it was yep, I can do that, that's fine. And it sort of broke it down into small enough chunks that it wasn't like a terrifying thing. It wasn't just this huge world. It was just right, we'll ignore the rest of the huge world, just concentrate on that small hut for today, 30 minutes of your time, and you can concentrate on that, and you'll get this really cool thing, and then you can move on with your life. And that's kind of how I sort of incrementally built up my knowledge and sort of skill set in it, I guess. And then when I sort of got into it, it was kind of into that rhythm. It was just like, it felt a lot more natural, if that makes sense. It wasn't like whereas previously it felt like really I'm completely out of my depth before, but I had to really. It was like that thing of like, the thing of like throwing a kid in the water to make them swim. It's like, it was like that. It was like, yeah, do that, and I had to sort of do that to myself to sort of get myself motivated to do it.
Yeah,
that's my Elden Ring story.
I'm very glad that you shared that, and I think that's why I was like, I wasn't expecting you to say Animal Crossing because
you were thinking Elden Ring.
Yeah, I was thinking.
And this is the thing. I think most people would probably. This is like. It probably leans and feeds into stereotypes, but I think most people would probably look at me and go, "Oh, he probably likes Elden Ring." He's like that's the sort of thing he'd like, and it's like, "Oh, my favorite game of all time is this cute little life sim that you've spent like thousands of hours in." And but yeah, it's Elden Ring would definitely be up there. I think there's some sort of like, I think everyone who plays those Souls games for any length of time, and the people who play and complete and platinum all of them, I think are like absolute masters. Like, it's unbelievable that they can do that. But I do think you end up sort of like with a massive void in your head and heart afterwards, and like PTSD of like, I have no idea like how I managed to get through that. And then it's like where people have kids and then they have loads of kids, and it's like they forget all the horrible stuff that you have to deal with, and so they've played like oh no, it'll be fun. I love Souls games, and they play them, and then it's like, oh my god, this is awful, and it's taken over my life. And then they finish it, and it's like, brilliant, that's the best game ever. And then they forget enough of the horrible bit for the next time. But yeah, I've not tried anything since. Like, I tried the DLC of Elden Ring, and I just couldn't click with it. It was, I think I'd moved on by that point.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no. And so anything else new, unless it is like an Elden Ring 2, I don't think I'll kind of, I think I'd have to sort of like just admire it from a distance.
Yeah. I think that's a wise choice. I mean, because I'm terminally online, it sounds like you reached the flow state where like everything was just going right. Almost like Ultra Instinct in Dragon Ball. I can empathize with you because during lockdown, one of my really good friends, Sean, got me the Dark Souls trilogy, and he coached me through those games as well. So it was a real coming of age story because I hated Dark Souls 1. But finished it. Hated Dark Souls 2, but finished it. I can appreciate those games now. But Dark Souls 3 is when I really started to understand. And there was another friend, Jordan, who the three of us would take on bosses together. And
oh, amazing!
I really got to understand what Dark Souls is, and it's literally what you said. It's your friends giving you that advice of just forget everything you know about gaming.
Yeah,
and just take it for what it is. Once I shifted my mindset, it became a lot more straightforward. And then I took on Bloodborne, which is I think my favorite out of the.
Oh, is it really? I think it's the nicest looking one. I think Bloodborne is the nicest looking one.
It's so good. And then Sekiro might be my favorite actually, because that's just because of the difficulty. Because that's just unreal. I don't know if I can ever beat that game again, but I did beat it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I had a choice because I was playing Sekiro right as Elden Ring came out. So I was I can either join everyone else and play Elden Ring, or I can play Sekiro because I'm going for it in order. Sekiro. I feel like I missed out on the hype of the Elden Ring, but I will at some point go back to finish it.
I really liked it. I did really like it, and I think there is something special about it. And it was special that everyone was everyone was playing it, but that kind of, as opposed to like Pyrokid and Animal Crossing and things like that, the amount of people playing it really died off, because obviously they were playing it and going, Christ, this is really difficult. I have no way that I can give this any more of my time. I'm out, kind of thing. But what I really like about that as well as a game, and I kind of think it's true of all of the Souls games and all of the Souls-like games, that I think the games that I really appreciate, I've got these things. This sounds really pretentious. I'm so sorry, but they've got like this thing of like where they're like kind of inherent like life lessons built into them, and I think the Souls one is a really good thing of like, don't give up straight away, carry on, like keep trying, just keep trying. And it is that thing of like you say, you have to deprogram your brain, which is the gamer's brain is don't die at any all costs, just don't die. And you have to realize that a huge part of any Souls game is dying and dying a lot and repeatedly and learning from when you die, and you just keep dying until you don't. And that's the thing is, and it's like anything in life, you have to keep trying and trying and trying until you get it right, and then it'll click, and then you're like, oh wow, that was really easy. And the amount of bosses that I would take on, or even just like normal enemies wandering about, that you'd go, I have no idea how I'll beat that. I'm never going to be strong enough. I'm never going to be fast enough. I'm never going to be, able to catch it unawares. I'm never going to be able to cast magic far enough to keep its distance. There's all of those things, and then you get to that point, and then it's like, oh well, I learned it, but you had to go through that process of like dying like 18 times until you got to that point. And it's that, it does sound really pretentious, there isn't a way around it, but that lesson is like so important, I think, of like just for life and for gaming generally. But I think it is that thing of you kind of, it'd be so easy to sort of just hand wave it away as, oh, it's just a really hard game. But it isn't just that it's hard, it is that it rewards you by being patient, by understanding like why what is happening, rather than just going, oh, I'll just try and spam this, or I'll just try and like run away from it. And cheesing it, it can work on some things if you're really struggling, but for the most part, it was just learning of how to sort of chip away at your understanding and knowledge until you could break through and take the next step. And I just think it's a really lovely, there's something really wholesome about it, which is really weird. Yeah. I think when you come to that conclusion of like this horrible game that makes you really frustrated and angry, and is often like grotesque in its presentation of bosses and things like that. But it's actually really quite, fundamentally heartwarming, sort of positive thing that it has of, taking your understanding of the world and how you can sort of like use it to progress your own life, rather than just sort of like stagnate or just try and keep doing the same thing again. It's like always, keeping your mind fresh kind of thing.
100%. I think it is definitely a lesson that the game is trying to teach you. I don't think it's pretentious at all. I do think there is some real truth in that. I think it's a very rough metaphor for life, in how when you reach adulthood, it's not easy. Everything is trying to everything is trying to take something from you, take advantage, and you really need to learn the right patterns, the right way to deal with people, the right way to avoid people, and it's not a one-to-one comparison, but I think the Souls franchise, the Souls games, do an excellent job of, okay, like you said, death isn't your bad. Death just means that didn't work.
Yeah.
So maybe try something else.
Try again. Go somewhere else first. Maybe try something else instead, and then come back. And then it's all like, it's not. I think the beauty of it is the fact that is because they don't tell you how to do loads of stuff, because it's so empty and devoid of narrative in terms of hand holding. Well, this person's doing this because of that, and if you do this, then that'll defeat them. It kind of encourages you to watch and take environmental cues to kind of like work out what's going on, rather than just going shoot for the red glowing bits, or that's got its part, like that's got its place in games that require that, but it kind of doesn't need that as a game. It's kind of, it needs to be sort of obtuse and vague and sort of just They literally is sort of throwing you in the pool. There you go, get on with it, have fun, kind of thing, and see what you if you want, and then get on with it. But yeah, it does its job beautifully, and I think it is a really good metaphor for life, and I think it is something that is got a gaming generally. I think is really positive or it can be hugely positive for giving you life lessons of like resilience and things like that. But I think those Souls games have got something. They're like a unique kind of approach to it that makes them stand out from the crowd, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think that's why a lot of people were afraid or would just straight up just talk down upon the Dark Souls games or your Bloodbornes or your Sekiros, and I don't know what exactly it was about Elden Ring, but that definitely was the one that got a lot of people going, okay, you know what, I'll give this one a try. And then they realized, oh, you know what?
It's quite hard.
Maybe I was hasty. It is hard, but it's not. I feel like the reputation is, oh, the game is just brutal and it just kills you over and over again and it tortures you, and it makes a real masochist out of the gamers. But it is a difficult game, but I just think it's more challenging than your average modern game. Like you said, a lot of modern games now will give you 25 tutorials before you've even completed the first level.
Yeah. Whole level is just a tutorial or whatever, and it's like, I just want to get on with this now. And it's great. It's good because obviously everyone needs to. I think it's how you can hide tutorials in amongst stuff without it being too, pop-ups every 5 minutes and saying, well, do this and do that. It's kind of like it was so far the other way with Elden Ring. There was kind of like, that's the bit that frightened me. I think was just, I have no idea how any of this works, and I just know I'm going to do something wrong. And so even down to like choosing what sort of character class and how, like, what items I should be choosing and stuff like that, or how to set things up. It was just like, and it was kind of knowing how like your sort of your like the points that how you assign those has got one bit, but then you've got almost like a graph, like an Excel spreadsheet behind that spreadsheet of like, well, this is how it affects it even further. And it's like, what? This is wild. And that was kind of like wired into my brain for that time while I was doing it. It's gone now. That's well out the window. But it was that way that it rewired your brain was brilliant. And I think that's what makes it such a fascinating kind of genre of games, is that it isn't just like, you don't just have to learn new skills, you have to think in a completely different way.
Yes. And I do think there is 100% the space and the room for games like that. They definitely deserve their space, and a lot of those games are some of the best games I've ever played. When it comes to Insert Coin, you mentioned it a bit earlier about how you get to work with so many cool franchises. What can you tell us about the journey between, I guess, someone maybe tweeting you or putting something on your Instagram or YouTube comment saying, you know what, I really like Cyberpunk. When are you going to make cool Cyberpunk jackets? And then how does that lead into like the conversations, and then how does that lead to the actual products coming out, which are always amazing?
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's always different. So it is always a different journey, and it's like literally every company we work with is different. Like from like every single part of it is different. So, but quite often, obviously, we do get cues from what people are sort of talking about, and so we get like the idea of, oh, perhaps we could look at that, or perhaps we could, that specific thing or whatever. But quite often, we're working on stuff like years in advance down the line. It's kind of that's the sort of peek behind the curtain, is that it's kind of, so say something for Cyberpunk, for example, we might have been, I wouldn't be able to tell you off the top of my head, but it would be like maybe 18 months, 2 years before anything came out, we're already working on it. So people are sort of saying, oh, we're doing that. And I'm sort of very much of the mindset of, I can't say yes or no, because if I say no, people are going to say, well, why not? And if they say, because we might sort of be halfway through sort of discussing getting a license for it. And then if you say yes, obviously, there's NDAs and things like that to consider. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like trying to balance the everything off. But generally, we do stuff for games that we really love, and because we're gamers ourselves, we're kind of already in that ballpark of like what people are going to suggest to us anyway. So we're kind of in that realm anyway, and it just kind of hones down exactly what it is. So, say for example, Cyberpunk's a really good example that we would, like get that license, and we're talking about it, and we're sort of talking with CD Projekt Red, who are lovely to work with, and we'd be talking to them about, all of the different things we could have in mind, and then we'd sort of utilize what they've been told by community and what we've seen ourselves with our community and just generally online. People are saying that they really like this, or this is the, for like Souls games, for example, it might be like, what are the most popular bosses? So we do stuff about the bosses that are the most popular on, like, we'd go to like forums, discords or whatever and look at those, but we'd also go down the route of like IGN's top lists and Eurogamer's top lists of 23 favorite bosses of whatever game it is. And so that kind of hones it down, because the more information you can kind of drag in, you can kind of build this picture of like, actually, this boss is really popular, and everyone wants this type of product as well. So you can kind of construct those from that. And so it does really help when we get feedback and we get people suggesting things and stuff like that. Sometimes we can't say that we are working on it. Sometimes we can't say we're not working on it, because it's kind of something that is either, it's just not going to progress for whatever reason, or people are sort of still talking about it or whatever. But it's one of those things that it's like, it's a really weird sort of part of the community we're in, the ecosystem we're in, I guess, because we're kind of always really excited to talk about stuff, but we're sort of like beholden by so many NDAs from different angles. But yeah, no, it does always work differently, but generally is like, we're constantly looking at the feedback we get and the comments we get to kind of try and shape what's already coming down the track. We kind of think, oh, actually, look, rather than do that, why don't we do that, and sort of swap things out as we go. So it's weight of numbers as well. If we know that 200 people are all like messaging us all the time about, why don't you bring this back, or why don't you talk to these people, then that sort of comes out from there. And quite often those companies might get tagged in, and then they might message us, and then that conversation starts from there. That's happened before. So it's one of those things that it is. I think that's the nicest thing about the job, is that it's so varied, and it changes like every single partner we have, every licensor we work with is so different, and they work differently. The projects work differently. The products are different. The communities are different. And so every bit is kind of like, again, it's that step and repeat of everything is like, everything is a quilt, but every patchwork quilt is slightly different. And so it has its own personality and its own character, and it's slightly different approach to how we make it, how we create it.
Oh, for sure. That was really insightful.
Yeah. Thank you. I kind of like, it's one of those things that you sort of like, you do it all the time, so you kind of never sure if it is insightful or if you're just kidding yourself at this point.
No. It was really insightful answer. Now, I want to ask you a question that I feel like you ask a lot of your guests when it comes to split screen.
Oh yes.
You seem to love snacks.
What are you trying to say? No, I do love snacks. I do love snacks.
What would be your go-to snack when gaming?
That's a very good question. Well, where did you hear that one before?
I stole from the best.
What would I go for? It'd be one of two things, probably. If it was lots of water is one of them. Lots of water to keep you hydrated. But as an actual snack, I think it would either be Bombay mix, which I think some of our guests have said. Tam Hussein said before, it's a real banger. I love Bombay Mix, and I think it's kind of like the sort of cousin of that, which is like trail mix kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like that somewhere, and we kind of in our house we kind of have loads of like mason jars full of like different like nuts and fruit and chocolate and stuff like that, so we can sort of make our own one. Like
I think your audio is gone. Maybe it might be me. 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. How has that happened?
okay,
Okay, there
can
we
you hear
go.
me now?
Yeah. Yes, I can.
Can you hear me now? I think my mic got dinked as I moved my hand. Sorry about that.
Okay, no worries.
I was just animatedly saying about snacks. No, it was so yeah, Bombay Mix and
Bombay
Trail
Mix.
Mix.
Okay.
The two.
Right.
Yeah, so Trail Mix would be the alternate one, which I don't know if you heard this because I stupidly knocked my mic, which has got a really sensitive mute button. I don't know why it's so sensitive. I sort of dared to move my hand kind of near it. We have like loads of jars full of like different ingredients of trail mix, and so we just like make our own ones here and like little bowls and stuff like that, and it's just like the fast energy you kind of need for beating bosses. It's quite good. It's just having a little snack. What about you? What's your favorite?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay.
I stole it from you. Who stole it from me?
What's going on? We're still
it's snackception.
Okay, one of three things for me. Either beef jerky.
Nice.
Sweet popcorn.
Yeah.
Or the Trek energy bars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a good choice. That's a good mix, right?
Yeah, it's a good mix.
They're not horrifically unhealthy. They're not. It's not anything that's like wildly unhealthy. Like this. Yeah. So I think it's really interesting. I think it's really interesting as a concept of like I love snacks because I love weird snacks, and I love the way that someone somewhere has thought up this really weird kind of combination of things, whatever it is, and it's like how do you ever come up with that? But I like how it kind of like the application of like what people eat when they're doing something that's it's not passive, but you're not acting, you're not running, you're not like playing basketball, or there's something it's somewhere in between on that spectrum. And so it's that thing of sort of what people sort of are able to do and what they feel comfortable in doing. And I think there's such a spectrum of stuff of people who are like, oh, no, I will not eat anything. I'm not going to have anything. It's just water and that's it. There's not anything else will pass my lips, all the way through to like, no, I'm going to have loads of snacks. This is like bowls and bowls of like whatever it is. And yeah. And so it's just like, I think it's a really interesting kind of like, there's not, as we've come across for like loads of bits in this chat, is that there's no right or wrong at all. It's just like, I just find it it's fascinating sort of dive into people's psyches of like this is what they constitute as a snack, and B, this is why they're that rationale of why they choose that as their favorite one. And yeah, I think it's endlessly sort of interesting how people sort of like get their hooked into like real specific things as well, that like it might be some people it's always like the latest thing that's come out there, that's what they want. And then other people it's like really hyper specific kind of, there's like someone, I think it's in the season that's coming up, who sort of like they love Jammy Dodgers, and it's like that's their one, and it's like such a traditional thing, and it's just like, wow, that's amazing, that's perfect. That's just like, I can't tell you why it's perfect, but that is a perfect snack.
Oh, I can't remember who it was. Someone mentioned dipping their biscuits in tea, and I was like,
was it Rahul Kohli? Was it Rahul Kohli?
Maybe multiple people have said it. I know at least one person said it. Was it? I think it was K Powell, maybe.
Oh yeah, yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yes,
this
yes, yeah,
a
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
earlier one. And I was like, that is such a British answer. That's such a
Yeah. That's what
Coronation Street
there's some
EastEnders
really
answer.
good, particularly because there's about, I think there's like about 4 or 5 people in across all the seasons so far that are like expats, like British expats living in the US or Canada or wherever, and their answers are always some of the most interesting because they are always things that they love from home, and it's like he's like Jammy Dodgers or like Monster Munch or Knickknacks or something that's like that they can't get anywhere, or Iron Brew or whatever, and they can't get it anywhere else, so they have to come back and get it.
Iron Brew is a real deep cut.
Yeah, definitely.
One more that you might recognize. Which gaming character has the best fashion sense?
All right. Oh, okay. You really are. You're hitting me. You're hitting me with them.
I never get to hear your answers.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. No. This is true. It's because my answers would be terrible. That's the main reason.
Like Bombay mix. That's a great answer.
What would it be? What would it be? It's really tricky. I think there's something really special about the Ezio series of Assassin's Creed, like that bit, and I think that era, particularly of Assassin's Creed games, their style and look was just so nicely done and realized. So it was kind of like it transcended kind of both eras. It wasn't like both eras looked really cool, and it was kind of in both eras the aesthetic was kind of it didn't feel like incongruous to everyone else around them, but it made them stand out. It was like, do you know what I mean? It was kind of like they were. So you have your Ezio who's like wearing something that's not massively different to everyone else around him. Just it was like that one extra level of flamboyance up with the peak and everything. Yeah. So yeah, I reckon, and it was such a those games and those characters were such an important part of Insert Coin when we started up. That like for the stuff that we made that created around it, that I think those have got a special place in my heart. I think.
That's a great answer. That's a good answer.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I could speak to you for hours. It's been such
too kind.
Hopefully we can get you on again.
Definitely, yeah, sure. If you'll have me, and if people aren't like writing in the comments that they hate me, then why is he still talking? Why is he still going on about Elden Ring?
Just going. They want you to say 6-7. Let the people know where they can find you, so that if anyone has any other questions that they've got in the live chat or the comments, sure, we can maybe get you on to answer those.
Yeah, perfect. So for Insert Coin stuff, if it's just sort of generally you want to see what the best video game apparel and stuff like that is, you can. I wrote these out because I will forget them otherwise. We're basically Insert Coin clothing on everything apart from Twitter, where we're Insert Coin tees. And you can find our websites, insertcoinclothing.com. There's a mailing list you can sign up to from there. If any of the products that aren't in stock, you can sign up for respawns on the product pages if there's something that might come back as well. And on all of our socials, particularly Twitter and Instagram, they're the sort of strongest ones in terms of where we post most regularly, I guess. So they're great ones to follow us on. And I still call it Twitter, by the way. You're not going to get me to change it. Yeah, it's not. You're not going to get me to change. And you can find Split Screen on our YouTube. If you search Insert Coin Split Screen, that will come up. Or you can find it if you search for the same stuff on anywhere you get podcasts. Basically, that's there. And then if they want to specifically harangue me for my hot takes on Animal Crossing and Elden Ring, they can find me at Mr. Team Corvette on pretty much every platform. And they can find my what else can they do? They can find like the podcasts through that as well, and they can find my short stories and my audiobooks that I write as well. They can find those at danlong.substack.com or wherever you get podcasts or audiobooks. You can find those as well. I'm everywhere you want to be. I'm like literally hoovering up every spot of the internet just to like, I'll just pop up in the corner. Hi, you're me. I'm here again.
Literally everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere you want to be.
You won't be able to go into a website without seeing some.
I'm the pop-up.
Yeah,
those really annoying pop-ups. In the accept cookies one. If you click refuse cookies, my face just pops up. It's terrible, but that's just the internet for you.
I got to learn from you how to get that coded. I need some tips.
I'll tell you after. I'll tell you after the show.
Appreciate it. I'm sure many people might be coming your way asking for some Elden Ring tips since you've 100%.
They're about 2 years too late, and that's all gone from my head now. That's been replaced with Animal Crossing recipes now. That's it.
Maybe they'll approach you with some Animal Crossing advice. for some Animal Crossing advice. Yes, once again, thank you so much for featuring on the Streamcast, Dan. Appreciate it greatly. And once you're done following Dan and insert coin, I'll get all the links and put them in the description and in the comment section, so they won't be hard to find. Why don't you support the Streamcast? We are not quite everywhere because that's a lot of work, but we are, of course, on YouTube right here. Our episodes will always be live for the foreseeable future on YouTube right here, youtube.com/Streamcast. Give us a thumbs up. That helps us out greatly. Subscribe. Help us get to 600. I think we're about 15 away. And our podcast, including this one, will be available wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, Castbox, etc. We are also on Instagram, Streamcast_, Twitter, Streamcast_, Blue Sky, Streamcast, and we have a second YouTube channel called Streamcast Gaming. I didn't forget. I'm a professional. Also on TikTok, Streamcast_. Yeah, that's another place I care about.
You have to carry all these things in your head, right? This is the thing. As soon as you get into anything like this, you have to carry so much information about where people find you. It's just like, oh, there's no space for anything else. That's why there's no room for Elden Ring then. That's it. It's gone. It's gone with links. That's it.
It's I like to think of it as like, you know, the old Pokemon system with like 4 moves. You can only remember 4 things at once.
Yep,
you want something new in there, you gotta get rid of something else. The next episode should be the 30th of March, but I gotta pull some strings and, you know, dot some I's, cross some T's. But hopefully before long I can confirm the next podcast date. But until then, take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Stay safe, keep on gaming. We'll see you on the next Streamcast.
Bye.